Hey Mexicans, welcome back to a new video where today we're going to be doing some what if civilization started over. This is inspired by a adizzpro series, so yeah. So first things first, we need to load up a new map. We got the Wisco map ready to load up. Cool. Now all we need is to have the starting point of the country. It starts in Qatar. And we'll have the rest of the land being colored in gray for the whole entire series. First things first, we have the Qatarians going out and exploring past their Qatar mainland. We got them going down towards the UAE. They don't let them run. They discovered Bahrain. And then they go out and discover the UAE Oman area. Them going out and discovering that area, they also end up exploring a bit inland too before stopping because of the deserts. You also have them going up to Mesopotamia, and they have a lot of rich land up here. They got some lakes. You see, the Qatarians would like to take advantage of the lands that they found. First and foremost, they go up to Mesopotamia. They go up to Mesopotamia, take good chunks of what they explored, and then also meet up with some lakes. This is about where it stops for the Mesopotamia area for now. As they go down to the UAE area though, Qatar stops here, but another country is founded down in areas that the red team has explored. This area stems from the red team, and they take some areas in the UAE and Oman that they've already explored, taking over this mantle before eventually going on and consolidating. While that's happening, we have more land discoveries. As an old independent group goes out from the red team's lands in Mesopotamia. And they go out and explore this body of water, which they think it's an ocean. However, as soon proven, it is not an ocean. We have them discovering more lakes in Anatolia, taking Kurdistan with them, and they discover Cyprus, barely. They also end up discovering Europe, the first country to do so. Also, this expedition team in the east soon discovers that this body of water, in fact, is not an ocean or a sea; it's a lake. And we also have expedition teams from the pink team going out inland a bit, but also discovering Yemen. Also, some of these islands are discovered too, but they're only discovered because they discover Eritrea in Africa. They go out and explore Africa until they stop in Somalia. They didn't think they know this is a separate continent. But the red team also ends up exploring more lands inland. And along with that, they discover Africa too, but they even go around the north coast while reaching and connecting to the pink team's discoveries. But now that's where the African discoveries stop. So they also finally discover all of Arabia, including any desert that was there before. We have Africa being discovered a bit more with Tunisia and going up to the Algerian lands. But once they make it to Morocco, they stop. And the pink and red teams come up with a splitting agreement for the Arabian Peninsula. But before then, they will consolidate lands in Africa. As they will expand in lands they've already discovered. With Tunisia and Algeria. They end up discovering a bit more to give their land area land room, or leg room. And now the red team and the pink team will now come with an agreement with this land split. They split the Arabian Peninsula something like this. They split up the Arabian Peninsula like this. The red team receives this area and the pink team receives this area. Now, why did they receive this area? Well, because they're colonizing Africa finally. Because they are taking Eritrea and the Somalia area. Now, as for the red team, What they don't know is that some expedition teams go out into Europe. They discover Greece and all the Balkans. And the people who discovered this area decide to start a new country in the Balkans. Yet they're taking what would be Romania and Bulgaria, but even more than that too, as they take out some Greek areas, and even basically all of Greece. They do end up taking some Greek islands and landed bits of Anatolia. Before you're not taking the whole thing. This whole coast. Eventually they stop at about here. And another offshoot ends up making their own country. This time around the Caspian Sea. With eventually them discovering more area around them in order to gain legroom. This leads them to connect with the Balkan exploration from their end. They also go out and explore into a lot of Asia. They make it to about here before they decide to stop. And they colonized a lot of the land that they went inland to. Not everything, but, you know, that's still quite a lot. And we also have them expanding in the Balkans. Or, not the Balkans, the Caucasus. They gain all Caucasus lands. And expand their front line a bit more here. But eventually, the red team takes up any land that the Caspian Sea could want. Or the Caspian country. They take out Kurdistan and eventually take out Anatolia too. Meeting the yellow country, which is an offshoot of them. The green team is also an offshoot of them, and the pink team is offshooted too. So we have Iran being fully discovered. And not only do they discover Iran, but they even discover India. Eventually, they go ahead and discover all of India. And they discover Sri Lanka eventually. And now we have our last country being founded. The Gold Team. We have them taking out all... We have them gaining all of Iran and the coast of India. Not all of it yet, though. They get close to getting all of it, though, just not yet. So yeah, this is what they have. A good chunk of India. Not all of it. And we have our countries so far. The red team, the pink team, the gold team, the green team, and the yellow team. Eventually, though, we have the yellow team going out into Italy. They discovered this coast for now. And the red team ends up discovering all the peninsular parts of Italy. They still don't go up here, though, because of the Alps. They do try to go around, though. Which actually ends up working. And once they go around, they discover France. They discover France, not the Netherlands. And some good chunks of Germany. They make it to Denmark. And eventually they make it to the Polish corridor. Or it would be the Polish corridor. With that, we have a new country being all the way founded in the north. An offshoot from the yellow team is the Danish country. They start in Denmark, but they quickly expand to take up more than Denmark. As they take up Prussia's old land area. And eventually they make it to discovering chunks of France. Not everything, as they end up taking chunks of France. And eventually they stop right about here. This is the biggest country disconnected from anyone. Now this area they could still trade off here, but it would take a while to get there. And eventually this country is the one that leads expeditions into the Baltics. That eventually finally makes them discover all mainland Europe. Besides Russia, because Russia doesn't really count. And they end up wrapping around finding the Kola area and Finland. They do end up discovering good chunks of it. Even making it to the Kola area. And going a bit deeper into Russia. Even just ultimately discovering the Urals over here. And then eventually, once they discovered the Nordic area, they decided to stop here. With that, we have the massive expansion of countries. First, we have the yellow team, which expands up into more of the Balkans. And eventually, they're the first country that could contact with the red team. The second one to expand is the red team themselves, who cleans up a bit of their borders in Prussia, and along that expands up into the Baltics. We also have them expanding a bit into France, taking out basically the entire French area. We have the red team, who only expands into Italy, which the yellow team is mad about, but they don't do anything about it. Also, as the red team discovers Italy, they also end up going into the Alps. As crazy as that sounds, they end up going into the Alps. And they finally do that. And then they discover the Iberian area and Northern Africa. Once that happens, they finally decide to peacefully split the Alps and Iberia. They're not worrying about this yet. Alright, first things first, the yellow team. They will finish their expansion here, taking off this team. They will go out into this area, getting land until they stop at about this area. And then the red team takes the rest of this, while gaining Corsica. Now, as for Iberia, the red team gains these islands and gains influence and gains a good chunk of the southern Iberia. Well, the red team goes ahead and take out the rest of the northern Iberia. And just like that, Western Europe is about split up. We have them discovering the British Isles. Eventually, they start their own country here. Their goal in life is to basically take out all of this island. After a couple hundred years, they end up consolidating all this into their land. And speaking of islands, these islands finally end up being fully discovered. And we have more offshoots of countries starting in these areas. as they've called this Nordic area. They will take up good chunks of what would be Sweden and Norway. Eventually they go out and stop in the Finnish area, connecting with the red team. Or the light red team. Or the dark red team. And as time progresses, eventually these areas will end up finally end up consolidating to respective teams. Little did people know, these crazy humans right here go ahead and continue what the green team was doing. These crazy humans. A lot of them died during this, but they finally discover the East Asian area. They then go out and discover what is China, and they connect with Southeast Asia. If even the crazy humans just thinking about going in the Himalayas, that's crazy. Why is this happening? Find out soon. But also finally they discover North and South Korea. And Japan. And some new countries will start in these areas. Particularly, Southeast Asia will have its own country down here. And then we have what would be China starting over here. This is what they take. And they take over Taiwan too. Eventually, though, they actually end up expanding through this thing, and finally end up meeting the green team. With the Indian country eventually taking out some discovered land for their own. And with that, we also have the green team fixing up its borders a bit, because I said so. With the pink team even fixing up its border a bit. And they still have that panhandle thing too. So yeah, then there's another country starting up here in Korea. They even end up expanding past Korea, taking out these areas. And eventually some crazy lunatic decides to discover the rest of Siberia. With any islands over here ending up getting discovered too. Now as for who takes this whole mantle, no one does. Psych. A new country starts up in Ukraine. And progressively each episode they expand into the undiscovered land. They will go up to the Urals and eventually make it to this area. We will then end the episode off in here, where this is where they'll stop for this episode. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a new video.